Gameday, presented by our friends at National Liquor Mart, Cousin Subs, Best Electric, Marquette Athletics, and the Marquette ROTC. Marquette trying to get back in the win column tonight, and in a rare role as an underdog this evening against the number 2 ranked in the country, UConn Huskies. We'll see if they can pull off the upset without their star player, Tyler Kolek. And that's the headline. That's where we have to start this evening. Marquette going to be without star player Tyler Kolek. That is the news, of course. He is out for the rest of the regular season with an oblique injury that he suffered about a week ago here at Fiserv Forum in a big-time win over the Providence Friars. And ultimately, I think Marquette is doing the right thing in holding him out of tonight's game and this weekend's game against Xavier, because they understand that they're going to be judged. Their season is going to be judged, and their legacy and team is going to be judged by their performance in the Big East tournament, but really the NCAA tournament this year after winning at Madison Square Garden next year. So taking the route of precaution, Tyler Kolek out tonight's game, out in the season finale against Xavier, and hopefully back to be reassessed ahead of the Big East tournament next week at Madison Square Garden. But tonight, Kolek and his teammate Oso Ighodaro going to be honored before tonight's game. If you're on the way out to the arena, those festivities inside Fiserv Forum going to take place at about 7:15. And it got me thinking about both of those two dudes' careers and tenures here at Marquette, because they both started rather ignominiously. Nobody really knew who either one of those guys was coming into Marquette University. We'll start with Tyler, because he transferred in from George Mason, and there was a lot of hope, and he did some good things in his time at George Mason. And I don't think anybody expected him to, A, become an All-America type player, but B, become so good so quickly at Marquette. I remember game 3 of his career. He came up with that gigantic steal and one finish against Illinois right here at Fiserv Forum, and an upset victory over the number 10 Illini at the time, and really set the tone for an NCAA tournament appearance in that first year under head coach Shaka Smart. And we all know the highlights. He went on to set the single game school record just a couple of weeks ago for assists with 18 in a single game. He's been an integral part of this program in terms of leadership, but the Tyler Kolek moments that I'm going to remember, and I'm sure a lot of you are going to remember, are the off-the-court things that elevated this Marquette team to a national brand once again. I think about the quote that I can't say on the radio right now from Big East Media Day last year, when the Golden Eagles were picked to finish 9th in the Big East Conference, and Tyler Kolek said, and it's become Marquette lore, bleep them. We'll go win it all, and that's exactly what they did. Won the regular season, won the Big East tournament, number 2 seed in the NCAAs last year, a season that's going to live in Marquette lore forever, all starting with an expletive by Tyler Kolek. I also think back to his early time at Marquette, that first season, their holiday tournament, Marquette ended up winning, and in the championship game, they knocked off a West Virginia team, and he was singing Country Roads, Take Me Home at the free throw line. Like, that is the swagger. The on-the-court stuff speaks for itself with Tyler Kolek, but the swagger, the confidence, the bravado, those are the things that I'm going to remember about Tyler Kolek 10, 15, 20 years down the line. And then there's Oso Ighodaro. And for my money, I don't think I've ever seen a player at Marquette grow as much from his freshman year to his senior year as Oso Ighodaro. Oso played 5 games his freshman year in Steve Wojciechowski's last year as head coach here at Marquette, and then he hurt himself and he took a medical redshirt. His sophomore season, or his redshirt freshman season, which was Shaka's first year at Marquette, people forget this. He didn't start. He came off the bench. He didn't play much. Kirk Kwath was starting at center for those Marquette teams in Shaka's first year. And nobody's really going to remember Kirk Kwath as anything special or legendary at Marquette. They're certainly going to remember Oso Ighodaro as that. Between that second year and that third year, he took Shaka's coaching, he worked on his dribbling and his passing, and those are skill sets that have taken him from freshman that could not play to surefire first-round NBA draft choice this upcoming summer. It's as meteoric of an ascent as I have ever seen for a Marquette player freshman year to senior year for Oso Ighodaro. Those two guys going to be honored at 7:15 before tonight's game against number 2 UConn. So this all begs the question, without Tyler Kolek tonight, can Marquette pull off the upset? And there haven't been a lot of opportunities for Marquette to pull off upsets this year because they've been one of the top teams in the country. They haven't been in this underdog role like they were for most of last season. Can they pull off a victory tonight over the number 2 team in the country without their starting point guard out with an oblique injury? I spoke with ESPN senior college basketball writer Myron Metcalf earlier this afternoon. Here was his answer to that question as to whether or not Marquette can win this game tonight against arguably the best team in the country at home without Tyler Kolek on the floor. Take a listen.
I mean, it'll be a tall task, and I think everybody understands that, considering that the impact that he has, one of the best players in America, Big East Player of the Year, and I think he's even better this season. That's really difficult to do. But you just lose a really big element when you don't have a guy like that. I mean, obviously, they've been able to get the job done after that Creighton loss, but I still feel like, this is a team where you go, okay, they're different. And when you're playing a team like UConn, you want to be able to be at your best, especially the way that they're playing. But I think they'll be competitive. You know what? To me, if you're competitive against a team like UConn, which a lot of people have as a Final Four squad, without your best player, I think that says a lot about what you're going to be able to do in March.
That is ESPN senior college basketball reporter Myron Metcalf. I agree with him. I think Marquette's going to be competitive tonight, even without Tyler Kolek in the lineup with that oblique injury, because they proved they could be competitive against a great team a couple of days ago on Saturday. Now, the final score may not have indicated it. Marquette loses 89-75 on the road to Creighton, but for those who watched that game or listened to it here on 94.5 ESPN, without Tyler Kolek and without Oso Iguodala, who was sick over the weekend, Marquette gave Creighton everything they could handle until the 6-minute mark of the second half. And then Creighton's three-point shooting just took over at that point, but that was as admirable of an effort as I have seen from Marquette all season long. Cam Jones with 23 points, David Joplin with 21 off the bench in 37 minutes played. Stevie Mitchell played out of his mind. Ben Gold put up a good game. I think they just ran out of gas because they weren't super deep. And Trey Norman, who only played 10 minutes in that game, was throwing up on the floor late in the first half. So it was all stacked against him, and Marquette hung right in there on the road against the top 10 team in the country in the Creighton Blue Jays. So yeah, I think Marquette can hang in there tonight. It's going to be a matter of closing and capitalizing on UConn mistakes because they don't make too terribly many of them. That's the reason they're the number 2 team in the country. Myron Metcalf also spoke earlier this afternoon in our exclusive conversation here on ESPN Milwaukee, about whether or not Marquette is still considered a national championship contender. Yes, national championship contender. Can they still win it all? Here's what ESPN's Myron Metcalf had to say.
It looks like getting Tyler back and healthy, right? I think you start there because I think, again, if you look at what he did to win Big East Player of the Year, I think Tyler's better this year. And again, that's not easy to do, to improve when you've had a run like that. So I think you have one of the best players in America once he returns and assuming he's healthy. I think it comes down to, like, what are they going to be defensively? I think if you look at some of their losses, what happens to Marquette is things get away from them defensively. They can score with anybody. But, especially if a team gets off to a really quick start, a team with a lot of talent, UConn, Creighton, it's tough for them to bounce back in those moments. But, I think they can play with anybody. I think it's not turning the ball over. I think it's being the team that they've been inside. I think they're 10th nationally, 58% of their shots inside the arc they've hit, top 25 in adjusted offensive efficiency. And then I think just be that good defensive team we know they can be, that Shaka Smart encourages them to be. And I think you got a shot. I mean, this is going to be a team that, because of that style and the way they force turnovers, I think they force turnovers on 1/5 of their opponent's possessions in Big East play. Like, that's not an easy thing to prepare for. That's what people have to consider in the NCAA tournament. For the most part, you're seeing a team that you've never seen before. You've never watched them. Everyone gets a few days to prepare for that first game, and then the second game, it's a matter of hours, right? So that's where coaching comes into play, experience, veterans on the roster, and having a style where they can really get on you and force a lot of turnovers and make life hard. That's not easy when you're playing a team like Marquette. So healthy Marquette, yeah, they got a chance to go all the way.
That is ESPN senior college basketball reporter Myron Metcalf, Milwaukee native as well. Don't ever take that for granted. Don't ever take nights like this for granted. The fact that ESPN's top talent can be talking about Marquette University as a national championship contender legitimately, and we've got a game in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on a Wednesday night in early March against a top 2 team in the country with major March Madness ramifications. Sold out crowd tonight for senior night. Tyler Kolek and Oso Ighodaro being honored before tonight's game. Coming up next year on Marquette College Game Day, we will check in with the Journal-Sentinel's Ben Steele, get his memories of Tyler and Oso, and see if he thinks Marquette can pull off the upset tonight. That's all coming up next year on Marquette College Game Day on 94.5 ESPN, brought to you all season long by National Liquor Mart, Cousin Subs, Best Electric, Marquette Athletics, and the Marquette ROTC.
More Golden Eagles hoops talk coming up on Marquette College Game Day with Brian D. 94.5 ESPN is the home of Marquette basketball.
National Liquor Mart is packed with deals to get you through the winter. During basketball season, remember to stop by National Liquor for all your Marquette pre- and post-game needs. If you're hosting a party and want to impress your guests, stop in to National Liquor where the varieties are endless. They have the cleanest store and the coldest beer. National Liquor Mart, where your satisfaction is their plan of action. National Liquor, open 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. daily on the corner of 16th and National.
Go beyond your field of study and get a world-class education in leadership by joining the U.S. Army ROTC. Army ROTC programs transform students into confident leaders and provide a wide range of scholarships to help pursue life-defining careers. As an Army officer, you'll work side by side with peers who support your growth. Gain the experience and get the resources to open doors down the road. Army ROTC is open for enrollment. Visit goarmy.com/ROTC to learn more about available opportunities and scholarships, including at Marquette University.
ESPN Wisconsin's Mark Toscher here for my friends at Kohler Services. If you need a bath or shower remodel, turn to Kohler Services. Family owned for 150 years. Kohler is your Wisconsin manufacturer providing care for life. This month only, get $1,000 off your Luxstone shower and pay nothing until 2025. Visit KohlerServicesWI.com to request your free quote with fast, professional installation always included. Again, that's KohlerServicesWI.com.
Here in Wisconsin, one name is synonymous with fantastic frozen pizza, Palermo's. For almost 60 years, Palermo's has focused on feeding Wisconsin families. And though Palermo's has grown a lot since 1964, they're still family-owned. They're still proud to call Milwaukee home. And they're still committed to making the best frozen pizza possible. From their new and improved rising crust pizzas to their guilt-free Primo thin pies, Palermo's has a delicious slice for every appetite. Find Palermo's in your local grocer's freezer food aisle. Palermo's. Flavor is our family's business.
Q Club of Wisconsin is a hangout spot for watching sports, playing games, and having some drinks. Mike, what do you have going on over there?
We have so much going on. We're the place to be for basketball season, with TVs everywhere. Book a party in our VIP room, which includes a private pool table, 2 shuffleboard tables, and 4 dartboards. Sign up for summer bocce leagues now before they fill up. And of course, we've got our fish fry on Wednesdays and Fridays, where you know we pile it high.
All happening at the Q Club of Wisconsin, North Grandview Boulevard in Waukesha. Check out QClubofWisconsin.com.
Hey, it's Jason Wilding for Associated Bank. Here in Wisconsin, we love our sports year-round, right down to the Packers games in Lambeau Snow. If you want to show your love for the green and gold every day, you got it with Associated Bank's exclusive Packers checking account. A one-of-a-kind debit card, a 10% discount at the Packers Pro Shop, plus everything you'll score as an Associated Bank customer. Best of all, you'll get a banking partner based right here in the Midwest. Visit AssociatedBank.com/Packers to get started today. You've got this with Associated Bank. Member FDIC.
This is Marquette College Game Day with Brian D. Brought to you by National Liquor Mart, Cousin Subs, Best Electric Service, the U.S. Army ROTC, and Marquette Athletics on the home of Marquette basketball, 94.5 ESPN.
And you know where I live. Yeah, you know what we is. Sometimes you gotta stay in. Welcome to my house. Baby, take control.
UConn comes into Marquette's house tonight as the number 2 Huskies take on the Golden Eagles. Tip off at 7:30 right here on 94.5 ESPN. Homer and the Hall of Famer Tony Smith will have the call. Gabe Neitzel's got your network pregame coverage coming up at 7 o'clock this evening. Until then, Brian D. hanging out with you live from a sold-out Fiserv Forum. Different energy in the building tonight. This is what March basketball should feel like in the Big East Conference, and we've got a great atmosphere tonight ahead of Marquette versus UConn. Week and a half away from Selection Sunday. Let's take a look at Joe Lunardi's latest edition of Bracketology from ESPN.com. Marquette, despite the loss to Creighton over the weekend, still hanging on to a number 2 seed and still the number 7 overall seed in the S chart for ESPN's Joe Lunardi. So comfortably hanging on. And I asked this question to Myron Metcalf when we spoke earlier this afternoon. You can catch that full interview right now at WisconsinOnDemand.com in the Marquette basketball feed. Even if Marquette loses tonight to the number 2 Huskies, even if they go on the road and lose to a middling Xavier team, and even if they bounce early from the Big East tournament at Madison Square Garden, I still think a number 3 seed in the NCAA tournament on Selection Sunday is about as low as they could possibly drop, given their resume thus far. They've now got 8 Quadrant 1 wins on the season. They've been ranked in the top 10 all season long. They've played an incredibly difficult schedule, not just in the Big East, but in their non-conference. They've got a win over Kansas in the bag, the number 1 team in the country at the time. A 3 seed is as far as you're going to see this team drop if everything goes wrong. And even if they win one of these last 2, even if it's over the weekend against Xavier, and they win their first game in New York and then get bounced on Friday night, a 2 seed seems like an absolute lock for the Marquette Golden Eagles a week from Sunday afternoon when the bracket is announced. The other thing I think we need to take into consideration for tonight's game between Marquette and UConn is the revenge factor. And for those just joining us or who hadn't been paying attention throughout the week, Tyler Kolek will not play tonight, will not play this weekend. He's out for the rest of the regular season with that oblique injury that he suffered a week ago against Providence. Marquette hopeful to get him back for the Big East tournament next week. But UConn really embarrassed Marquette on their home floor a couple of weeks ago. The game wasn't as bad as the final score indicated. It was about a 30-point finish, but that game got out of hand and both teams kind of put it on cruise control. But there was some chippiness and some trash talking from the UConn side at the end of that basketball game a couple of years ago. You better believe that with or without Tyler Kolek tonight, and they will be without him, Marquette's going to want to exact some revenge against this Huskies team on their home floor. And the home crowd, if the early returns are any indication, is going to be absolutely electric tonight. Should be an incredible environment when this game tips off a little after 7:30. We'll wrap up the show on the other side. Talk to Ben Steele from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. That is coming up here on 94.5 ESPN. It's Marquette College Game Day, brought to you by National Liquor Mart, Cousin Subs, Best Electric, Marquette Athletics, and the Marquette ROTC.
More Golden Eagles hoops talk coming up on Marquette College Game Day with Brian D. 94.5 ESPN is the home of Marquette basketball.
Cousin Subs is stepping up their game this Lenten season with a decadent delight featuring lobster. You heard that right, lobster. This new limited-time only lobster salad sub features lobster mixed with Cousin's signature mayo over a bed of lettuce and topped with onions, tomato, and Old Bay seasoning on their famous Italian bread, baked fresh daily. Order the new lobster salad sub at any Cousin's location, online or via their mobile app. Cousin's Subs, we believe in better.
Multiple sclerosis is an unpredictable, often disabling disease of the central nervous system. Symptoms vary from person to person, as MS does not discriminate, and anyone can be diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. With one of the largest MS incident rates in the country, Wisconsin is a league leader in the number of people living with MS. The National MS Society funds cutting-edge research, drives change through advocacy, and provides programs and services to help people affected by MS to live their best lives. Connect with nationalmssociety.org to learn more, get involved, and to show much love to people living with MS.
Getting up to 5% back is easy at Fleet Farm. Fleet Rewards members can earn up to 5% back on every purchase, in-store and online. The earnings stack up automatically. The more you buy, the more you earn. No rebates, no coupons, no hassles. And Fleet Rewards membership is easy, so sign up now and start earning up to 5% back on everything you need for everyday life at Fleet Farm. Some exclusions apply.
Hey, it's Kyle Walls here from ESPN Wisconsin's Kyle Bruston Nortman, and I gotta tell you about one of my new favorite ways to watch games with the Underdog Fantasy Sports app. A pick'em fantasy game where you can win real money. It's easy to find in your app store and even easier to use. Here's how it works. Pick 2 to 5 players from at least 2 different teams, then select higher or lower on those players' stats. If your picks hit, you can win up to 100 times your money. Yeah, it is that easy. Especially with the hoop season hitting high gear, you know I'm watching every game with the Underdog Fantasy app. So right now, head to their easy-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com and sign up using promo code KBN. Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. Plus, they'll give you a mystery special pick to use on your first pick'em entry. That's promo code KBN. Join me and get the Underdog Fantasy app so that you can enhance your game watching experience just like me. Must be 18 plus and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
This is ESPN Wisconsin's Brad Nortman, here to tell you about my favorite go-to drink. That's Carbless. Carbless is a ready-to-drink, handcrafted vodka and tequila cocktail. Even better, it's 0 carbs, 0 sugar, 0 gluten, and just 100 calories. And listen to this, less carbonation. This leads to less bloat. I can indulge in something delicious without having that health guilt. Carbless is crafted right here in Wisconsin. It has a flavor for everyone, from black raspberry to cranberry, pineapple and lemon, and my favorite, margarita. Find Carbless online and at a retailer near you. This is more.
This is Marquette College Game Day with Brian D. Brought to you by National Liquor Mart, Cousin Subs, and Marquette Athletics on the home of Marquette basketball, 94.5 ESPN.
Bubblicious. Normally a chalky bubble gum, but tonight probably a better word to describe the Big East Conference. Welcome back into Marquette College Game Day, live from a sold-out Fiserv Forum on senior night. Tyler Kolek and Oso Ighodaro going to be honored at 7:15 before tonight's game against the number 2 UConn Huskies. Taking a look around the Big East Conference right now, huge game going on in New Jersey between Seton Hall and Villanova. ESPN's Joe Lunardi has Villanova as one of his last 4 byes and Seton Hall as one of his last 4 teams in the NCAA tournament. So a huge game with NCAA tournament implications. Seton Hall currently leading 43-35. I bring it up not because it really has any impact or import on the Marquette Golden Eagles, but because it's indicative of just how far the Big East Conference has come. I think back to 2013, and the Big East, or the Catholic Seven as they were colloquially referred to at the time, were pretty much left for dead when UConn, who's in the building tonight, welcome back UConn, Syracuse, Louisville, all these legacy schools left the Big East Conference for football money. And here we are 10, 11 years later, and the Big East is as strong as it's ever been. Now, obviously, you've got DePaul and Georgetown bottom feeding, but every other team in the conference has been or absolutely is in NCAA tournament contention. Xavier and Butler have fallen out of NCAA tournament consideration over the last couple of weeks, but every other team, UConn, Marquette, Creighton, Final Four contenders, legitimately. Seton Hall, Villanova, Providence, St. John's, all still in the picture. Providence has fallen out of the picture, largely due to an injury to Bryce Hopkins, one of their top players late in the season. But everybody else, would you be surprised to see any one of those teams make the second weekend of the NCAA tournament? Absolutely not. We've come a damn long way from Requiem for the Big East, which was a 30 for 30 created by ESPN that looked back upon the glory days of Jim Boeheim and Syracuse and Lou Carnesecca and St. John's. And I think it's a tremendous credit to the leadership in the conference, but most of all the coaches in the conference. Hurley at UConn has done an unbelievable job, even though UConn is back and kind of asked back into the conference. But you need a strong, charismatic leader like that to get your program to a top 5 portion in the country. Shaka Smart, obviously, has been an unbelievable hire. But you've got characters, right? You've got McDermott at Creighton. You've got Ed Cooley still in the conference. You've got Rick Pitino back. It is in some way reminiscent of the good old days when the Big East started in the mid-'80s. This is a new glory day of Big East basketball, and to be sitting here in downtown Milwaukee, Wisconsin, in a sold-out Fiserv Forum, in a game between two teams that have gotten into it over the last couple of years. Easily the best two teams in the Big East Conference the last 2 years. They've developed into rivals. Region doesn't matter. These games have gotten scrappy, and we've got a game tonight between number 2 and number 8 with huge March Madness implications. What else could you possibly ask for? We've come a long way from Requiem for the Big East and the death of the Big East Conference in 2013. What a cool environment here in downtown Milwaukee tonight. Want to thank you for hanging out with us all season long here on Marquette College Game Day. Our coverage is going to continue hopefully deeply into the month of March and maybe into early April if things go like we hope that they will. Stick with us on the other side. Gabe Neitzel has your network pregame coverage. And once again, a tip of the cap to our two seniors being honored tonight, Tyler Kolek and Oso Ighodaro. Senior night, sometimes you shrug and you laugh it off. Tonight will be a senior night that we remember for a very long time because of the impact that these two players, Kolek and Ighodaro, have made on this Marquette program over the last couple of years. And hopefully their biggest moments as Marquette Golden Eagles are still to come over the next 6 or 7 weeks and culminate with a run in Phoenix, Arizona at the Final Four. Gabe Neitzel has your network pregame coverage coming up on the other side. This has been Marquette College Game Day on 94.5 ESPN.
Hey ESPN Milwaukee fans, Gary Olsen here for my good friends over at Best Electric Services. They're family owned and operated and have been serving you for over 50 years. No job is too big or too small. Whether it's making panel upgrades to your home